Good morning, everyone. So thanks for making time to join us today. Wanted to go over a little more in depth on the next phase of our quest to fix the dam roads. Start by saying that I am really appreciative of that the Transportation Commission took action this morning, 6-0. Just point out that 5 of those members were appointed by the last administration. And so I think that that shows that this really is a thoughtful way to go about managing this critical asset on which we all rely. So we'll jump in. I've got a few slides to share with you, and then we'll open it up for questions. All right? So here we go. The last night in the speech I talked about 13-year-old Monty Scott, who took matters into his own hands after his mom's car repair bills were so intense and he could see how distressed she was. He went out and tried to help her by filling the potholes on their street. Now, 13-year-old kids should not have to worry about filling potholes. They should not have to worry, frankly, about climate change or civility or a lot of things that our young people are worried about today. But they definitely shouldn't have to worry about infrastructure. When I was 13, I had very simple things that I was concerned about, and that was, trying to make sure that my grades were okay, and that was primarily what I spent my energy on. But that's how bad this crisis is. Our kids understand it. When I was on Mackinac Island for the Detroit Chamber Conference last year, I did a slideshow of postcards that children had sent me, and the roads were the #1 thing that our children were trying to reach me about. So that's why I am taking action now. The Rebuilding Michigan plan does 4 things. First, it is the top priority of my administration to keep people safe on our roads. And so what this infrastructure that is crumbling and putting people in danger does is, I think, undermining our ability to compete, but the most critical thing in my mind is the safety of our families on the roads. So it keeps drivers safe and passengers safe. 2, it saves money in the long run. This plan pulls a number of projects forward, so it'll cut down on the cost of inflation and help us lock in favorable rates now. And that's why we anticipate the savings that people will feel at home in terms of not spending $600 a year to repair tires or rims or windshields. In addition to our ability to utilize these dollars now in a more cost-effective manner than waiting, means that we're all going to be saving money. It also gives us the ability to act quickly. This deterioration curve is real and it is steep, and that's why taking out state road bonds will let us get started soon. Even if the state Senate, the Senate Republicans are serious about raising a sales tax for roads, it is not something that will happen quickly, and that's why this is an important tool toward meeting the needs that we have in our state. And it's not funded through a gas tax, so there's no immediate increase at the pump. It's financed without a gas tax increase. I say finance because I recognize this is financing. It's not long-term funding, and as you know, the ball is in the legislature's court on coming up with some long-term funding, but we're going to get to work right now. So, Rebuilding Michigan, this plan will allow us to fix our most highly traveled state roads and freeways so that the most amount of people in our state will benefit. It will cut down on the time to repair our roads. We'll make sure that our roads are rebuilt, not just triaged, but actually rebuilt, so that they will last longer, and it will cut down on repetitive short-term costs. It will, as we stop patching but we rebuild, it means that we'll be getting 25, 30, 35 years of life out of roads. That is real reconstruction, and that's worth bonding for. Rebuilding Michigan, just a few more facts. So we will add and expand 122 major new projects and nearly double the amount of money available to fix our roads over the next 5 years. When we fix the roads, we will use the right materials and right mix, so we will get the best value for our money. We'll save taxpayers money by avoiding the annual cost of inflation and the more severe need as roads continue to deteriorate and we will fix the most highly traveled roads with the greatest economic impact. This is the smartest way to go about doing it. So over the long haul, we believe we will actually be saving money as a result of this. It's an important component of any strategy to fix a crisis as big as the one that we're confronting. So, in conclusion, we're going to get to work starting right now. From now on, when people see orange barrels on a state road, they're going to know that it's this administration fixing the damn roads. As I've said before, if the legislature won't come to the table, I'm going to still roll up my sleeves and get to work. These projects will only address the worst of the most traveled state roads. It does not fix all of the local roads and bridges. And so I'm hopeful that the legislature will get serious about moving forward. I am eager and happy to engage in those talks whenever they are. And I am hopeful that at some point when people's local roads are still crumbling, that they can encourage the legislature. I invite them to the table. With that, I would like to open up and answer any questions you have. I've got Jay Rising, who has held a number of positions in a number of administrations over the years, but he is one of my best advisors when it comes to all things around finance and bonding. So I've invited him to come in case you've got more technical questions that he can shed some light on. So with that, let's open it up.
Governor, what do you say to those who are, excited about the opportunity to fix the major roadways, but again, as you mentioned here at the end, this does very little to address the problems within local communities.
Yeah.
What can be done to fix those roads in neighborhoods?
Well, that's where the legislature's got to come to the table with a funding solution. I put a real solution on the table last year. It actually would have solved the problem. It would have done so in a way that was constitutionally dedicated to fixing the problem. And it was actually a user fee, so it was something that made sense. Unfortunately, the legislature didn't only not embrace it, but they never countered with an alternative that would have fixed the problem. And so I'm not going to wait for that to happen. We got to get started now. This still requires that to happen. The legislature's got to come to the table and got to start with a plan on the local side. But what I can do alone, I'm going to, so that we can actually fix the roads and ensure Michigan's competitive. We just announced another major investment in Michigan at General Motors in Detroit Hamtramck on Monday. They're building cars that are going to be autonomous and connected and electric. We have to have the infrastructure that supports the next stage of mobility that we want to continue to have this leadership position on. This is a part of doing that.
What do you expect is going to be the annual debt payment?
So, our debt load is falling off, and as we ramp this up, we still would anticipate about $200 million a year, which has been essentially what we have committed over the last number of years. So it won't be a dramatic increase because of the rates that are available right now, as well as how that load is falling off. It actually is really a smart piece of an overall infrastructure strategy. Even if we had new revenue coming in, this would be a thoughtful addition to that, just simply because of the low rates that we have and the incredible amount of need that we have to address. Anything to add?
Governor, are you saying that you will not propose a comprehensive long-term solution to the road problem?
I did a year ago, and nothing was done in the legislature. And so I'm not going to be here just to play games. I want to get things done. We're going to move forward on this plan in hopes that the legislature eventually comes to the table with a solution, a long-term funding solution.
You will not offer another comprehensive plan?
I put one on the table, Tim. I did that a year ago, and nothing happened.
Well, this is a new year. It's still
It
a
is.
problem, and you're washing your hands.
Oh, Tim, this is action. This is thoughtful. This is a this is a real way to address some of the most critical aspects of our infrastructure crisis.
I understand that. You yourself said last night this is not a comprehensive fix. What you're saying, Republicans, I tried, I failed, now you try.
No, I said I did what I said I was going to do. No one should be surprised that I'm now taking unilateral action, and I remain ready to negotiate with anyone who wants to get serious about this. And I invite them to come to the table with an alternative to what I put on the table last year.
Governor, is there anything that the Republicans could propose that is off the table with you, like if it would take away from the school funding?
Well, as I said last night, anything that creates more problems than it solves, I don't think is a serious solution. So a few ideas were bandied about, in a very informal way last year. No one actually wrote up a plan, announced it publicly, and held it up to scrutiny. But of the conversations that were had, taking some money out of a teacher pension system to fill some potholes, I don't consider a serious solution because it's not full, it's not dedicated, and besides that, you're stealing from a different side of the two crises that we're confronting as a state. Our skills, our lack of skills and educational outcomes that are worthy of our kids, and our infrastructure. We can't make one problem worse to make a little bit of an improvement on another. That's not a serious solution.
What about the House Speaker's proposal to decouple the gas tax from?
And once they've told us how they're going to pay for that and hold our schools and all the other things in the budget harmless. Absolutely. We're not going to create another problem and pretend that we're solving, this road crisis.
Governor, it looks like from just the first look at the plans that the projects are fairly interstate heavy. Even some of the state road, primary roads, like a Woodward Avenue, just as an example, don't seem to be on there. Can you explain why the projects that are being moved up are so interstate that there's not so much, a Telegraph Road or a Saginaw Highway?
I think there will be a lot of M roads and, I roads, US roads will all be a part of this effort. My ability to impact and improve every roadway is limited when it's done unilaterally. If we want to address every local road, then the legislature's got to be a part of the funding solution. The list of projects and maps, I think, show that we are going to start with the most severely damaged roads traveled by the most number of people. That is every person who's looked at this said those are the two right data points that should be driving how we prioritize timing of projects.
Governor, in your
Emily, go ahead.
You put the 45-cent gas tax on the table last year. With this $3.5 billion in state projects kind of taken out, is there a possibility that you'd be willing to come to the table at a lower number than 45 cents?
I have, contrary to what has been, stated, I've never said it's this or nothing. I've never said that. In fact, even the day that I introduced it, almost a year ago, I said, I'm putting this solution on the table because I ran on fixing this problem, and this is what it's going to take. But I am absolutely happy to sit down with anyone who wants to have an honest conversation about a serious alternative. Happy to do that. I reiterated that over and over again. I know everyone's saying that, not everyone. I know that there are some who are saying it was 45 cents or nothing. It's absolutely untrue. It's categorically false to say that. The problem is no one came out with a real serious alternative. So if the Republicans warmed up to a smaller gas tax or some other funding solution that they want to propose, I'm happy to get to the table with them.
But is the need still 45 cents in your mind, or just taking this piece out and lower that number?
Well, last year the need was $2.5 billion annually for at least 10 years. We know that doing nothing means that in just 2 years from now, that number goes to $3.5 billion. Inaction is expensive and it's dangerous, and that's precisely what we've seen, and that's why I'm taking this tack now to move some dirt and to get this problem, the solution started. So if they come and they want to have a conversation and it's a different number, that could certainly be a part of a solution, sure. I'm sorry, you were trying to get my attention.
Oh, yeah, okay. Governor, in your speech, you said that from now on, you'll see orange barrels in state roads. That's you fixing the roads. But if people have problems with local roads, they should call Republicans. But how do you expect voters to distinguish between state and local roads, especially if local roads aren't fixed right away at this point?
Yeah, I think that that's a challenge, obviously. But we're going to ensure that as people can see what roads are a part of the Rebuilding Michigan plan, that there is transparency and accountability, and they know what we are doing, what this administration is doing. When they're frustrated about their local roads and in their communities, I've encouraged them to make sure they call their legislators. I put a plan on the table. No one embraced it or countered it with something thoughtful and substantive. And so I'm going forward to take care of the state roads. I can do that unilaterally, and I'm going to.
Governor, would you be more open to this NIPSR's financing plan that Senator Shirkey basically has made as his red line in the sand, if it freed up more money for schools, if it was framed a little differently than it was last year?
Chad, if Senator Shirkey came to me and suggested that, I would hear him out.
And why so?
But he hasn't.
Okay.
So that's, I don't know what more to expand on. What?
The door's open on this NIPSR's refinance.
Well, you know what? I think that some people have suggested that this is a way to lock in a guaranteed payment for teachers' pensions. I don't know that the teachers agree with that, and I, most importantly, would want to know what the teachers feel about any suggestion that we even touch dollars that should be going into their pensions. Okay, I'm going to go to Paul, and then I'm going to come to you, and then I think we're out. Yes? All right. Go ahead.
Well, your budget this year proposed no general fund money for roads. I think, the present plan would have $600 million come out of the general fund. Will you try to erase that with your proposal?
Paul, you're going to have to stay awake next Thursday when the budget's introduced. You will see, though, that some of the expectations around our infrastructure need have been based on these moves that the legislature had built in under the previous governor, and so you wouldn't be surprised if that continued, and that may be a part of what you see next Thursday. But you'll have to wait till then to confirm it. Yes?
So if this is going to target the most severely damaged and highly trafficked roads, what would you say to people in rural areas who might not be affected by this but will eventually have to pay for it?
Well, I would say call your legislators and tell them to get serious about a plan that is comprehensive. This plan will improve roads in every part of the state. It's not about one area or another. This is about managing an asset on which we all rely, on which our economy relies, to ensure that we don't go so far beyond that we don't recover. This is akin to taking out a mortgage to build a new roof. Sometimes for long-term investments, the wisest thing you can do is lock in a low interest rate and actually fix the problem. And that's what we are doing here.
That's all the time we have. Thank
All right.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.